Do your students or people that you know in general who are English speakers, but they speak it as a second language, do you ever notice them trying to invent or be creative with the language and trying to invent an expression that just doesn't work? A clever expression in Spanish that they're trying to translate into English, or maybe they know enough English that their processes of thinking make them connect this and this and this and thinking it'll be clever if I say this. Do you ever find people doing that in English?
Absolutely.
Right.
Just for the record, my family, my parents, my grandmother, my uncles, aunts, their second language is English.
Okay.
So I'm surrounded by these people. Now I come here, and if anyone on my husband's side speaks English, it's also their second language. But I have an example because it's the first one that came to mind. And it's not an example of one that I don't think didn't work. I think it kind of did because I kind of found the beauty in it. It's a very simple expression. It came from my husband, who's Mexican. His first language is Spanish, his native language. And we were talking about the term, it's not even a word, it's kind of an abbreviation, mofo.
Yeah.
Mofo, right? I'm talking about slang because I like slang. I like colloquialism. So we're talking about mofo, and he wanted...
As in bad mofo.
As in bad mofo.
Right, as in bad mofo. I'm a bad mofo.
I'm a bad mofo. Or mofo short for motherfucker. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
For anybody who didn't know that, I had to express that. But it's always mofo.
Yeah.
That's it. And as you know, in English, we don't conjugate adjectives, right? We don't say the black's cats, right? Or the blacka cat, because the cat is a female. We don't do that. It's just we don't conjugate adjectives. So we were referring to a female, and he said, mofa. And my first reaction was, no, we only say mofo. It's only mofo. It doesn't matter if it's a female or a male, because in English, we don't conjugate adjectives. And I did say that, of course. But having thought about it more, I said, you know what? Mofa sounds great. Why not? Yeah. Why can't you just take the liberty of changing language a little bit? Yeah, it's not correct. And even mofo itself is, it's slang. Slang is considered not correct use of language, although it's flavorful. I said, yeah, let's keep it mofa. So I even say mofa now. To him, of course. If I'm speaking to a native English speaker and I must say mofo, I'll say mofo. But I liked that example a lot. I thought it was really sweet. And it reflects Spanish, because in Spanish, you conjugate adjectives. You modify them.
From a certain degree, it makes sense, but at the first time that you hear it, you think, no, así no se dice. That's not how you say it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does get into one of the points that I was going to make, that as a general rule, of which I'm sure that there are many exceptions, the non-native speakers do not get to be very inventive. When I say do not get to be, they're not allowed to be very inventive with the target language by the native speakers. There's no rule. And like you just said, the mind sees it one way. And so if you try to manipulate it and say another way something, then you'll be told that it's wrong. Whereas if you were the native and you were doing that, people would react differently.
Absolutely.
But because you're the non-native, the first assumption is that no, nice try, but you didn't quite get it right.
Right. You made a fool of yourself, perhaps. It's just a blatant mistake. And you're kind of not allowed to make those mistakes.
Well, I mean, I use the expression not allowed, which could give the wrong impression, but...
You're not an expert enough, perhaps?
Whatever you do, it's not going to have the impact that you're looking for, because people are hearing it through a filter of, he's non-native. That's why he doesn't know.
Right.
If you say something unusual, it's assumed that you said it that way because you don't know how to say it right.
Unless, of course, the person with whom you're speaking knows that you have a solid, strong grasp of the language. And then perhaps that's that exception.
That's true. But I remember we went somewhere near Guadalajara to a place, had all these stores with all these streets and blocks, of all these stores with these clothes and everything. And I went with my wife's family, right? Then we stayed with my father-in-law, and my father-in-law and I were the only men in the family. Everybody else was females, and all of the stores, I would say easily 90% of the stores were all for women. And of the 10% of the stores that were for men, they didn't have any clothes that I would want to wear ever. So we were just kind of walking around. Everybody had split up, and my wife and I went to these stores, my cuñada had gone to some other stores, and some people had gone to others. Eventually, we ended up meeting up again. And just to make a sarcastic remark about the fact that all the stores were for women, I made a remark to my father-in-law, and I said, ¿No encontraste una blusa que te gustó? And he just, he just kind of laughed and rolled his eyes and said, No, es que los hombres no usan blusas. He says, men don't wear blouses, Shane.
And you knew that already, but you were just making a sarcastic
I'm
remark
just
as if you had
trying to-
said it in English. You want a blouse?
Yeah, hey, did you find a blouse you like? Did you find a dress that you like?
Right.
But yeah, that happens. There's that assumption that he must not know what he's talking. And of course, if you make it with a face like mine, that's incapable of showing any sort of humor
Poker
whatsoever,
face.
dead zombie face. But then
You said
it's easy
it,
for people
not me.
to get the impression that you're actually being serious about it. Sometimes you'll say things like, somebody asks, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And you say, "Estoy aquí en mi casita trabajandito." And they look at you like, "No, what? Así no se dice trabajandito. You put the ito on nouns and things like that, but not verbs." I said, "But I do. Put it on the verb, right? So trabajandito. Okay, it means I'm not working super, super hard. I'm just doing a little bit of work. Trabajandito." So do you understand me or not? Sometimes I'll get very, but that's not how it's said. Well, that's how it's said now, because I just said it. I just
Now
stuck
on.
it into the culture. I just like with a fork in the culture. Now it's part of the culture. I did that.
Yeah,
And you got to be
speaking-
careful how you react to it, as you'll offend some people if you actually react that way. But
No, especially with the gesture of the pitchfork. Totally.
yeah.